pete'stools.com.
G'day guys, Peter again today. Hey, today what I'm looking at is flux core welding for you beginners. All you guys out there that have just bought your new welder and now you're trying to weld shit together and it looks like absolute crap. And yeah, just a couple of tips for you fellas, might help you out a little bit. Same as usual guys, you like my video, subscribe, drop me a like, drop me a comment. Come say good day to me at Pete's Tools if you want. And yeah, let's see what I'm going on about this week, eh? So guys, I don't know what sort of welder you've actually brought, but if you brought a welder like this that can run on gas or CO2 as well as flux core wire or gasless wire, then you're going to have to make sure that your polarity is right before you start welding. Otherwise your welding's just going to turn to shit anyway and you never get a good weld. That's when I first started, I had it round the wrong way and it was just, yeah, it was horrible guys, horrible. But if you've just got a machine that can only weld with flux core wire, then you don't have to worry about this guys because it's already set up the same way. But if, like I said, if you've got a machine like this, there'll be a way that you can change your polarity. I'll show you how to do it on this one. You've got to make sure that your polarity when you're flux core welding is always electrode negative. And you might be saying, Pete, what the are you talking about? What's the electrode? Well, the electrode in the MIG welder is the wire that's coming out of here. This is what we call the electrode. So we want this on the negative side. So this welder being able to be used on both gas and gasless, it actually comes, see we've got here positive, and then we've got negative here. Now this is the electrode here, this is the torch, so that's the electrode, and this is attached to the torch. So at the moment we've got electrode positive, we want electrode negative. And you're saying, geez Pete, that's about as clear as mud. If I show you even on the bottom, it's written on the bottom of this machine as well. Hold on guys. So you see here guys, this is underneath the plugs. This is the plug I showed you before, and this is the earth lead plug. And over here, if we look over here, this is our torch. So this one here is attached to the back of our torch. So at the moment, see it's even saying on here, this is for gas, and this is over here, it's for no gas. So what that's telling us here is we need to change, if we're going to no gas, and you have a welder that's capable of using gas, then you need to change it from the gas to the no gas side. So basically what it is they have it has the positive on the top and the negative. We need to change this to the negative. So we've got negative electrode. It's as clear as mud, Pete. But like I say guys, if you haven't got a machine that can run gas and gasless, you don't have to worry about this. So there you go. So what we're going to do guys is just change this over. So we'll take this one out of here. We'll take the earth lead, because this is the earth lead one here. Take them out. We'll swap them over. We'll put the earth lead one into the positive. This is the one for the electrode, so we want the electrode negative, so we put him into the negative. So I can get him in there, yep. There we go Pete, so now we're electrode negative. Electrode being the gun, negative here, the gun. This is our earth lead, so the earth is now positive. Now like I said to you guys, because this welder can run gas and gasless, I'm running gas wire here at the moment, so we need to take that out. But if you've only got a machine that can run gasless wire, then you won't need to do any of this. So this is our flux core wire guys. Remember when you're putting this in, it doesn't matter whether your machine's up this way or you might have it along the top. Always make sure that your wire is coming from the bottom into the drive rollers, and make sure that you hold it tight when you're putting it in there, because if you let it go it'll all spring out and you'll have a big bird's nest and then you've just wasted half of your wire. So we'll put them in like so. Now if you're using an upright one like machine like mine, this will have a locating pin in the back that fits into the roller wire that locks it onto the spline like that. What you need to do guys is just cut the end of your wire so it's nice and straight, and then feed it through your mechanism of your drive rollers. Now your drive rollers may be on a different angle, mine is standing straight up and down, but yours could be up on an angle like so. Doesn't make any difference, because then your coil of wire is going to be on a different angle as well. All you do is the same as what I'm doing. A lot of the smaller machines only have the capability of taking a 2 or 3 pound roll of wire, and they basically run the other way to this. Instead of it running like that, they run sort of on like this. You'll understand what I mean if you've got a machine like that. So what you want to do is speed it through and be very, very careful, because this wire is very, very soft, because it's got a flux core on the inside of it. In other words, the core is not solid. So if the core of something is not solid, then the chances are you can crush it. So just speed it through, go right through like that. See how this is starting to come off? Just watch that, guys. You've got to keep tension on it all the time. Otherwise, like I said, you'll lose half your bloody wire. Now also, guys, if you've got a machine that's capable of doing gas and gasless like this one, chances are you might have to change the bottom of your drive roller, because the drive roller here is in a V shape, where for it to grab a solid wire, whereas the flux core wire, see that roller there is a V shape? Well, what you need for flux core, so you don't have to put so much pressure on it to drive it through, is you need a knurled roller. Here, I'll put a picture of one up on the top there. You have a look at a knurled roller. They're pretty cheap. You can buy them anywhere. Just go on from your local welding store or even Amazon or something. I can put some links in the description below if you want to have a look for them down there. So change your drive roller, because that's one of the main problems I think that new welders have, is that the tension here is either too much or too little, and then you get business, and then you get awfully pissed off, and then you don't continue with your welding, and you say it's no good and all the rest of it. It sounds like what I did. So do that up there, guys, and just loosen it off a little bit, and then run it through until it comes out of your torch. Just seems to be driving through right, guys. Just until we get it coming out of here. You'll feel it go, and it'll stop. Hear that? Oh, it actually came through in one lump. That's good. Sometimes, guys, you have to take the end of your nozzle off, and then take out the contact tip holder to let the wire run through, but this time it must have been pretty clean and it come through on its own. But if you're having trouble getting it through to the end of your torch, just take out the contact tip holder, run it through, push it back through like so, and just do it up again. So guys, you only need to worry about those two things I showed you if you've got a welder that's capable of welding with gas and without gas. If you haven't got a welder that can weld with gas, you're only using flux core wire or gasless wire, then you don't have to worry about that, because your machine comes out of the factory already preset to run that wire. Also guys, another tip I'd have for you is, when you buy your machine, you normally get a cheap little holdy helmet, you know, the ones that you hold up like this, and they're crap, because you can't hold your helmet up when you're learning and then get the other hand with the torch, and then it just doesn't work because you're not steady enough with your hand. So what I would do is ditch that helmet and just buy one cheap one of these. You can get these for about 35 bucks, and it really saves you a lot of aggro, because you can just slip that over your head like so, and you can actually see what you're welding, guys. You don't have to hold it, it just sits there by itself, which is all good, and then you can actually concentrate with two hands on what you're doing on your welding. Another thing, guys, when you get your new welder and you're all keen to start welding and you want to stick some shit together, you just go and grab an old piece of rusty steel, and that's not really advisable when you're learning to weld. For the first thing is, when you put your earth clamp on, you don't want to be putting it on rusty steel, because you can't get a proper contact. And when you're learning, it's really important to have a proper contact, because you don't want to be slowing yourself down with anything that's going to make your welding harder than what it has to be. So what you need to do is just clear a piece off with a grinder or a wire brush or something, and just get a clear piece of metal and stick it on the metal. And the same as whatever you're welding. See, this is all rusty here and it's got scale on it. I've cleaned this off a bit here, and it'll just make it a lot easier for you to weld when you first start to learn, guys. Because there's nothing worse than trying to weld rusty steel, but if you don't know what you're doing, it can be a right pain in the arse. Another thing I do, guys, is just get rid of this nozzle here, because you only need it for gas welding, and we're not gas welding, we're using a flux core wire. So if you get rid of that, you can actually see your wire stick out. You can actually see where you're welding when you first start, because if you've got this on top of it, it's a pain in the neck. And also, guys, don't go like this, straight up and down, because you can't see what you're doing. You need to come on a bit of an angle like that. And when you start welding, you need to be going away from where you're welding. You don't want to be pushing it back in, because when you're flux core welding, guys, you've got to drag it down all the time. Here, we'll do a little bit, eh? And also another tip that might help you guys is use your other hand, your spare hand, to rest your torch on. So it just gives you a little bit more control rather than trying to go like this. So if we do it like this and we start welding, we'll see how we get on, eh? See guys how I was pulling that towards me, but I'm not trying to contaminate my weld with the flux. So if we have a look what it looks like. See how I was holding that with my other hand, guys, and you can get a bit more control, and you can actually start to make it look like a proper weld. So guys, just a couple of tips when you do the flux core, you know, it just might help you out a bit, and it might save you pulling your hair out and getting all frustrated and then giving up the hobby, because that's not good. Because it's all about practice too, guys. Once you get the hang of it, everything becomes easy. Just practice, practice, practice. Get an old piece of metal and just practice, and you'll be welding awesome in no time. Anyway guys, same as usual, like my videos, subscribe, drop me a like, drop me a comment. Come say good day in the comments below if you want, and we'll see you next time, eh? Bye!
peachtools.com